usually our prep time. Thank you, Robin. This is usually our month where we get really excited about conference and start getting ready to not only see each other in person at conference, but make sure that our young, bright, eager members are prepared for conference in their interviews. So we will kind of have a focus on our career prep, but I wanted to just go over a few things about the chapter and what's coming up going forward. So if this is your first time joining or coming in a while, just wanted to introduce myself again. Daryl Joyce, I'm the chapter president. I'm also joined on the call with our Vice President of Operations, Robin Tucker, our Vice President of Membership, Alicia Hill, who also heads our Leadership for Leaders of Tomorrow program, and then our Vice President of Administration, Kenesha Wilson. Chapter information, this chapter itself was actually founded in 1993 with 36 charter members, but the national organization began in the 70s. And so we're excited because this is going to be our 43rd conference. It's in Chicago where it all started. So the conference and the organization has been along for a long time. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as email. I will say, please, if you are using email to kind of stay in contact with us, check your spam. Sometimes emails and updates kind of get caught in the spam, but all of our information is on social media, and we're happy to talk to any of you about the organization in more detail. I would like to also say, since we're getting ready for our national organization, just like to show it. Here's the footprint. We talk about our network. I don't think we talk about this as much, but I'm a native Detroiter, and I will tell you, when I came here 5 years ago, I was welcomed with open arms by Alicia, Kenesha, and Robin. And it was just because of this network and this bond from across the country and the world even. And so this is a great opportunity to see like-minded people that are in all kind of business aspects and entrepreneurship across the country. And so this is the power of our membership. This is the power of our network. This is our family and our village, and it's strong, and it's just amazing to be a part of. Again, if you have not been around the organization a while or just curious, we have 5 pillars of education, career, entrepreneurship, leadership, and lifestyle. A lot of this will be wrapped up in one bow tonight, but again, this is about career discussions, but also education for those who are interested in getting their MBA as we get ready to talk about the conference. And there's just all kind of schools as well as job opportunities as well as leadership, because this is really a great opportunity for students as well as professionals to develop their leadership skills. I would be remiss to talk about opportunities for our youth in high school as they're getting ready to go back to school, and you're looking at how to figure out how can I get my young person involved. We do have Leader of Tomorrow program events. We'll be starting those up. Alicia Hill, again, as our director of that program. We're looking for volunteers, students, professionals who would like to teach courses, whether it's in leadership, financial literacy, college prep, career prep. So we love to have your help and support. And then again, if there's information that you want to know about membership, it is here on this slide here. Again, young professionals, experienced professionals, and then we have student members as well. I'm kind of rushing through this because I want to make sure we get a chance to hear from our very own Alicia Hill that will be talking about career prep. But if you haven't heard, we are going to be in Chicago. The conference is next month. We're in like close to 30 days. This is going to be unique. Last year, we were all virtual. This year, it is a 2-part conference. The in-person will be the 14th through the 18th, and then there's a separate virtual career fair the following week. As of right now, I will say we are still planning to go. Chicago is doing well. They just had Lollapalooza and had very successful event. The organization and planning team for National Black MBA does have a lot of efforts of safety in place as far as social distancing, hand sanitizers, registration. They are highly recommending everyone get their vaccinations, and that means both vaccinations at least in time, so that it's 2 weeks before they attend the conference. We also will be looking for people to actually show a negative COVID test. So there are some more parameters we're putting to keep everybody safe. So I just wanted to address that off the top. But just in case, as we were talking about before, again, 2020 was challenging. 2021 has not let 2020 outdo themselves, and this has definitely been an interesting year, but we continue to adapt. And so I would be remiss not to show this quick video. Hopefully everybody can hear the sound. This is a little
In
bit
a
about
year like no other, the National Black MBA Association held an annual conference like no other. Not an event that took place in one city, but a virtual experience that reached across the country and around the world. For our 20,000 members and countless supporters, our annual conference is the chance to interview, engage, learn, and grow. Going virtual didn't slow us down. From our state-of-the-art online platform in our 50th year serving Black professionals, we brought together today's leading Black voices and career representatives from nearly 200 organizations, including some of the world's most recognizable brands, were on hand to interview our next generation of leaders. Over the course of 3 days, our 50th anniversary theme, Celebrating Visionaries, came to life for nearly 10,000 conference registrants, giving them the tools, resources, and motivation to become more successful. As always, the NBMBAA Conference and Career Fair educated, connected, and inspired Black professionals. More importantly, this year's conference demonstrated that no matter the obstacles, no matter the challenges, we as a community have the power to move forward, succeed, and realize our limitless potential.
You're on mute. Can't hear you, Daryl.
We can.
Okay.
I can. Yeah. We can hear you.
I can't hear him.
I can't either.
I can't.
In a year like no other,
Did you dial in separately, Kamisha, or are you using the Wi-Fi cellular data? I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Wow. So I can't hear him either. That's why I was just trying to see what the difference might be.
So can you all hear Daryl at all? I cannot.
No.
All right.
No.
Well, with that being the case, we're going to work through this and we are going to hand it over to Alicia to kick off our presentation for today. Alicia is one of our board members for the chapter, and she is the owner of A Career Girl. And today she is going to be presenting us with the tools and helping us build the tools and skills and resources that's needed for interview prep and career development and job readiness. So Alicia, with that, we will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Just a second, we're getting the screen up.
Give us 1 minute, everyone. We're having some technical challenges right now.
Okay, everyone. Our session goes. You need to mute everything. I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of ACG brand management. We're going to talk about how to navigate your career, personalize your career. Then we'll do some interview preparation and then go to next steps. On the first slide. So I have over 20 years of experience in leadership, marketing. I'm sorry, excuse me. I was just told a presentation is not up.
Hey, Daryl, can you pull up the presentation? You had it up. Hey, Daryl, can you pull up the presentation? Thank you.
So we're going to talk about next steps as well. So you go on the next slide. A little bit about a career gear. So I have over 20 years of experience in leadership, marketing, sales, learning and development, strategic planning, and project management. The mission of ACG is to empower quality-driven professionals to reach beyond their comfort zone through coaching and brand training. So on the next slide, you guys will see what you should be focused on. So I want you guys to think about this entire time during this presentation is focusing on the road ahead. How can you safely shift into your career, into the role that you want to be in? And I'll share with you some ways you can do that. So you'll see here on the next slide that when the opportunity presents itself in your work environment, show your leadership characteristics. That's first. You want to grow where you are. Of course, you want to take an opportunity to learn more about how to advance, how to make sure you build out your resume and how you interview well. But I want to make sure that you know the key things to do right where you are. And that starts with taking opportunities as they come today. Right? So show your leadership characteristics. What is it that you want to do in the position that you're in with the skill sets that you currently have today? How can you help your company generate more revenue or even save? So we're going to go through these changes so that we have an opportunity to be innovative and be flexible every day. Encourage collaboration. Go back to delegating and following up. These are things you can go to help navigate your career right where you are. Be seen as a leader and not just a doer. And that is something that truly I had to learn. So I love sharing that. It was a hard lesson for me to learn, and I try to share it with anyone I can to make sure you prevent that. It's good that you want to be a doer, that you want to jump in and you want to help with things, but you want to be seen as a leader. And one of the key characteristics of a leader is that you delegate. You've got to be able to have some strong people around you that respect you enough that when you are asking them to do something or to take on a task or work with you on something, they say, oh, surely I would love to work with Robin. Oh yeah, Daryl, I would love to be on his team, because they see the characteristics of a leader that are in you. So that's one of the things you want to make sure that you can do as a leader. You want to be seen as a leader, not just a doer. And again, I had to learn that the hard way. So I want to make sure you guys got that. So next, I want to talk to you about personalizing your career. How can you personalize your career to where you are maintaining your brand and not your brand maintaining you? There's a big difference. There are decisions and conversations had when you're not present. There are decisions being made at executive leadership when you're not in the room, and your brand is there. Your name is the most valuable thing that you will ever own. And you have to be able to know how to manage that. You can do that through 360 assessments, where you're interviewing and asking other people, what is it that they see in you? What do they think your strengths are? What are your strong characteristics? You need to know what other people think. You know, growing up, I was always told, oh, don't worry about what people think about you. You know, you worry too much about what other people think. In your career, where leadership has your career in their hands, you want to know what they think. You have to know what they think, because you want to make sure that they believe in you as a leader. You want to make sure that you're the person that they're looking at in their succession plan, that you're the person that's going to take that organization to the next level. So you want to be able to personalize your career in that aspect. Let me show you on the next slide a few things that you can do to do that. Here are 4 ways to focus on you. Here are some examples. Focus on professional development. You always want to continue to grow. You want to always push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're not feeling uncomfortable about taking on a new challenge, that means you're not challenging yourself. You've got to dig in and do what you can. Strengthen your personal brand. Do that by networking. Do that by updating your resume. Do that by taking some time to look at career opportunities and see where there are some gaps in where you want to go and where you are now, and take it upon yourself to get some classes done, get some training, get a personal coach, get a mentor, update your career documents. And that's why you guys are here today. You want to make sure that your documents are up to date. I remember working at FedEx and looking out for job postings. And the last thing that stressed me the most was seeing a job posting and it closed tomorrow. My resume is not updated. I haven't done any mock interviews. I'm not ready for this. So what do? You drop everything you're doing to rush and make sure you update your resume for a position that's posted tomorrow. If you be honest with yourself, you weren't ready. That's just a fact, right? When you see a job posting and you know you're looking, don't wait for the job to come and then say, oh, let me get it together. When the job comes, you should be able to hit send. I had a new client, well, a potential client that I thought was going to be a client. And I was talking with him and just sharing my business and what I do and what my expertise was. And he was actually looking to hire me as a partner to work with him on a project. I didn't know that initially. So when we got off the line, he emailed me and said, hey, can you send me a capability statement? I had it ready. I said, sure. I went in my email and forwarded it right to him. How good did that make me look, right? I didn't wait 24 hours. I didn't wait 10 hours. I didn't wait 10 minutes because I had it ready. When someone calls me and says, hey, do you have a bio? Yes, I do. And I email it right to them. So you got to advance your documents and think ahead. Do I have this together? What's my elevator pitch? Do I have a bio together?
Great.
What are my goals? You've got to have those things.
It was good.
And it's best to do it when you can literally take your time, think about it, think about where you want to be throughout your entire career, lay it all out and figure out where the gaps are and get started on them. Because if you do it that way, then you're not pressed for time. It's not the best of quality if you do it really quickly. So you have an opportunity to get it together on your own. And these are your goals, right? This is your timeline. Nobody's pressuring you to do this. That's the best time to do it, when you have to kind of think about it. When you can spend 30 minutes a day or an hour in a day versus 4 hours blocking off your whole calendar because you got to rush and get a resume done. So make sure that your documentations are always updated. And then engage your network. National Black
Because
MBA,
I know
one of the
you-
largest networks that I'm
I
in.
see people-
Engage your network. Read the email, send responses, come to events, invite other people. You know, COVID has happened. The world has been shut down. It's opened back up again. It's about to shut back down again, probably. But you still have ways to connect on LinkedIn, on social media. You have ways that you can join different webinars like this one tonight, so that you can engage your network, not just social distancing, but from your own home. So take advantage of that. So next, I want to show you some power words that you can use also. So on this slide, you will see focusing on your professional development. You need to know your strengths, right? You got to be able to sell yourself. What are you good at? What are your strengths? So here are some good words that you can use. Collaborative. You got to know how to work with other people, right? You're creative and innovative. You got to be detail oriented, right? Flexibility. You can work in a cultured environment. You're proactive. You're poised. You're responsible. You're genuine. You're authentic. You have a positive attitude, right? These are some words that you can use. And one of my favorites, and it didn't come from me, honestly, it came from other people. Oh, you're so passionate. You're so passionate. I was like, yeah, that's my word. I'm so passionate about what I do. So I got that because that was what other people perceived me to be. And I was like, I never thought about saying passionate. I mean, I love what I do. So, well, I guess I am passionate about it. So when you have those words in your vocabulary, you're able to sell yourself better when you're creating any documents that describe who you are. And you're going to need those words for your resume. Now, some people may say, well, I don't really know what my strengths are. I think I'm good at this, but I'm not sure. And there could be some things I'm good at that I don't know. On this next slide, I'm going to show you how you can find out truly what you're passionate about. This is a book called Strength Finders. Guys, I'm telling you, honestly, this book changed my life. I'm a big talker. I know I love to talk, but I never thought about my biggest strength being communications. When I read this book and took the Strength Finders assessment, and it said my biggest strength was communication, for some reason, a light just came on and said, oh, I'm good at communicating. Okay, that's what the book says. So I'm going to ride that wave. So every time I had an opportunity to communicate or to present, I did. And I worked on it. I was like, okay, here's a focus point for me to work on. So I took the Strength Finder results and said, okay, let me focus on this. I'm good at communications. Let me fine tune that. And I'm going to focus right there. And that's what I did. And that was back in 2018. Every time I had an opportunity to present or to get on stage or to lead a meeting, I practiced and I did it. It was like I needed something or someone to say, you're a great communicator. So I used that to my advantage. So this is another way to focus on your professional development. Use the Strength Finder. The book is about $12. You can get it at Target. You can get it on Amazon. It's one of the best tools to help you describe as well as define you. So I use this tool with all of my clients. Some of them I buy the book for them and say, hey, take this assessment and let's talk about your results. And it works because it gives you a focus point, right? So also here on the next slide, I want to talk to you about the domains of leadership strengths. So there's executing, there's influencing, there's relationship building, and strategic thinking. These are all strengths that you'll find in Strength Finder. So for example, when you take the assessment, you'll get results in these 4 areas. I have a client that one of her strengths was communications as well as mine. And she honed in on that strength by offering more to do that had to do with communication. So anytime that she could facilitate or speak out, she did. She used this strength as a way to define herself. And so she found more opportunities where people were coming to her, asking her to speak because she began to practice and hone in on that skill set. So others use maybe strategic thinking. So as a learner, instinctively, you regularly apply yourself to scholarly pursuits. You feel very optimistic about life when you can dedicate yourself in your studies. I'm just a learner. I'm a natural learner. I love to learn things. And when that came up in my Strength Finders, I was like, okay, this is something else I can do. Again, it was just a way to kind of help shift you if you weren't quite sure of what you wanted to do or what you were good at. the Strength Finders assessment really is a way to narrow down those results for you and give you a path that you can take. So I want to make sure you guys get that. Any questions before I continue on Strength Finders? So I'll wrap that piece up by sharing this quote with you on the next slide. You may have more to gain by developing your gifts and leveraging your natural skills than by trying to prepare your weaknesses. So I'm not saying don't know what your weaknesses are. I'm not saying don't spend some time on your weaknesses, because we want to grow, but your main objective is to make your strengths stronger. And in that, from what I found with myself and other clients, is that as you continue to strengthen your strengths, your weaknesses get a little stronger too, especially when you know what they are. So I want to leave that with you guys. It was a great quote that I received from a Harvard Business Review, and I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. So next, now that we've set that up, let's talk about what you're here for. Resume components. Some components that you want to have in your resume are things like how long you've been in your career, what sets you apart, what makes you an asset to the company, and then add your additional key attributes. Answering those 4 questions will be your summary, right? So your professional summary can come from you answering these 4 questions. Put the answers in sentence form and make that your professional summary. It doesn't need to be really long, but you definitely want to start with expert with over 20 years in, or exceptional in 20 years in customer experience, or whatever it is that you do. You want to put that time in there because it kind of sparks the interest. Say, oh, she's really good at this. She's been doing this for this long. So you want to be able to show what sets you apart by how long you've been in your career and some of the highlights from your career. So on the next slide, let's talk about updating your resume. So I'm assuming everyone on the call does have a resume. And if you don't, we can get you one, okay? So enhancing your resume should tell a story. It should not be a page of bullet points. It needs to flow in an intentional way. Your resume should tell a story. Your resume should reflect the job that you want, not the job that you have, right? You can talk about the job that you have, but you want to be able to show the skill sets of the job that you want so that the person that's reading your resume can align that with the next job, right? So you shouldn't be preparing your resume to take a shift from one company to another in the same position. You want to shift upward, right? You want to make sure that you continue to grow and promote in advance. So what does that look like for you? Pull out those experiences that says I'm ready to advance and use that to reflect on in your resume. Your resume should also reflect leadership, flexibility, collaboration, and consistency. Anyone can lead from where they are. You don't have to be a manager. You don't have to be a senior specialist. You don't have to be an advisor or a fellow, right? You can lead right where you are. Show that leadership skill. And your resume should also sell you when you're not in the room. So if you've got these first 3 bullets together, your resume will sell you. They're going to be able to look at your resume and say, I want to call her in for an interview. This is who we want. Your resume has to be intentional that way. So let's talk about leadership a little bit. So enhancing your resume, leadership is very important in many roles, right? The higher level the role, and we're MBAs here, right? So the higher level the role, the more success stories you're going to need. You should have some success stories built up in your bank for what you've done already in your role. So that's going to make up for those bullet points under your current job. You need to have some qualitative as well as quantitative experiences listed on your resume. You can bullet out what you do, who you've worked with, but if you're not showing how you saved or how you enhanced something, a project or a program in your organization, that doesn't show the leadership, right? So you can't tell part of the story in your professional summary and then get down to the resume where you list out what you're doing in your job and they don't align, right? If you saying you're an expert at collaboration. You need to show some projects that you've worked with different organizations, some cross-functional organization, 4 of them, 6 of them, the quality that you brought to that. That's that qualitative and quantitative experience that needs to be in your resume. Your resume should have a technical skills section as well. That enforces the specific role that you're applying for. So when you're looking at the job description of the job that you want to align it to you and make sure you hit each of those bullet points. I sit down with a printed out copy of the job description and I'm circling and highlighting. Oh yeah, got that? Yep, got that? Yep, got that. If it's 6 bullet points and you're circling at least 4 of those 6, that's confidence. You should be able to do this job, because not everything in their job description you may not know how to do, but don't let that rule you out. If you've got 4 of the 6, if you've got 6 of the 10, that's enough for you to apply. So be encouraged and say, I can work with these things. These other couple I can learn. Now, one thing I've seen some companies do, they'll have a section that says these things are a plus, right? If the things that are a plus, and it's 1 out of 3 that you have, I will be a little sketchy about that, because the things that are a plus, they're telling you that's what we're looking for first. If it says it's a plus that you have a master's degree and you don't have one, chances are 50 or so people are going to apply for that same job that have a master's, and your resume is going to go to the bottom of the pile because you don't have one, right? So you want to look at those additional things that they list that say are a plus for that position and make sure you have the majority of them at least, right? A couple more things. Emphasize results. So you want to emphasize results. Results achieved matter the most, right? So use keywords. You have to use keywords. Many companies use an applicant tracking system. It's called an ATS. Therefore, keywords are critical to be found. Now, this is not by a human person, right? This is not the recruiter that's pulling a resume. This is what happens when you upload your resume into the system. It weeds out, right? So it's not plagiarism. It's you looking very carefully at that job description and saying, the keywords that are listed here, I need to put them in my resume to show that I have this. If the job description has leadership 10 times, guess what? You need to have leadership in your resume 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times too, maybe, because the ATS system is going to pull those resumes that has those keyword matches in it. So make sure that you're comparing your resume to the job description very carefully. So by the time the resumes get to the recruiter that's going to be manually looking at them to set up those phone calls, they can see where the matches are, because those are the people that they're going to call in for an interview. Focus your resume. Use a professional summary to align yourself with the job. And please, please create a different resume for each job you apply for. It's work. You've got to put in the work, but your resume cannot be the same for each job, because if it is, that just took away everything we talked about. The keywords, the quantitative and qualitative numbers that you have, some of your results. Some of your results may not matter for one job description for one company versus another. So you've got to make sure that you can carefully align whatever that job description is to your resume, and make sure that you have a different one for each company, and make sure you label them as such. Don't save your resume as Alicia Hill FedEx advertising position. Because if you upload that resume to UPS and it says FedEx, they're going to be like, oh, she just used the same resume. She didn't even change it. Just put your name. That way, when they're searching for the resumes, your name comes up. They know exactly who it is. Same thing with your email address. Your email address should easily help them be able to figure out who you are. Your email address should have your name in it. It's simple. Having a number behind it or something like that will be okay, because there could be more than one person with your name, but you definitely want to make sure your name is in it. Also, in enhancing your resume, remember to only have 2 pages. So you see here on the next slide that your resume should have 2 pages, that the employers mainly want to see the work done in the last 5 to 7 years. Now you can go out 10, It's okay to do that. But if you're gonna go 10 years, which is kind of the traditional golden rule, you can't go over 2 pages. One, they're not gonna look at it. It's too long. And I'll show you guys some examples of some resumes too here in just a little bit. Make your resumes visually appealing. Ensure that your formatting is readable, that is sharp, and that is professional. You can't have a lot of words on your resume. It's unattractive. It looks like, oh, that's a lot to read, right? You want your resume to be clean, crisp, and friendly to read, right? You want it to be easy on the eyes. So on the next slide, I want to show you a couple of resumes. So I have laid out about 4 different formats. Here's 2 of them. Now, my first one, I love it, but it is debatable, right? I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. I love it. I use it with certain people and certain companies, mainly because my face is on it, right? I'm not going to say if you have your picture on your resume that you're going to be discriminated against. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you like this format, be careful with it. Depending on who I am dealing with or the reason that I'm sending my resume, I may put my picture on it. There are a lot of opportunities for African-American entrepreneurs. There are a lot of opportunities for diversity and inclusion positions. Those are a couple of reasons why I would have my picture. I have even taken this resume and just moved up what's underneath my picture and taken away my picture and still use this same format. So there's some different ways you can use this format if you like it, but I would say be careful with your picture. The other resume to the far right is a clean, crisp resume. It's got the name, which I blocked out because these are real clients and these are real resumes, and I didn't want to publicly share the person's resume, right? So I just kind of blocked out the names, but it's got the name on the left, their address, city, and state phone number on the right, and then it has all of their executive summary and their experience. That's another clean, crisp way to have a nice resume. It has your education at the bottom, and it's easy and simple to roll with. As you can see, I hope you agree that it's easy to read. You can just skim right down. It flows very well. So next, I'll show you a couple more. So here are 2 more resumes. And again, I blocked the names, but this one, as you can see, there are key attributes that we talked about earlier. It's dead smack in the middle, right? So it's right there so you can see it. We got a professional summary, we got all the key attributes, and then we start talking about the job positions that you've had, along with some descriptions of success that you've had. Now, the one on the far right here, I love this one as well. It's got the professional summary on the left-hand side, and the person's personal information on the left. But as you can see down the left-hand side, as you read left to right, the important stuff is first on the left. I did that intentionally, right? So when you're reading left to right, you see left to right on the left what's most important. You've got your education, you've got your experience, your professional summary, and then here are my consistency things. These are my dependencies, right? Here is what I do well in a pie chart. So it's quick, it's easy to read, it's in a little color, so it doesn't make the resume look too dull. It brings a little brightness to it, so I like that about it. And then over to the right, it's got the job descriptions of the jobs and whatever the person has done. So that's another great resume format to look at too. So I wanted to share those with you all so that you can see that there's more than one way to present yourself in a way that you can do it professionally, clean, easy to read, and summarizes what you need. So now let's get into some interview prep. So this first slide, it's an oldie but a goodie. Most companies I've found use the STAR method. The STAR method is pretty simple. You want to set the scene, right? When you're asked a question, you want to be able to bring them in as if they were there. You want to become a professional storyteller, right? You want to draw them in and be like, oh, wow, that happened. How did you come out of that? What did you do? You want to draw them in, right? And so then you want to describe the purpose of what you had to do, because it's very important that they understand your role and what is it that you were going to make happen, right? And then explain what you did. You know, what did you do and how did you do it? And then you want to share the outcome. And I add this at the end, and I found 100% of the time that it makes a very good interview when you can say, and in this role, as an executive director for this company, I will use that same experience and skill set to ensure right? I always tie it up in a bow because I've told them this long, passionate, well, not too long, 3 to 5 minutes. I've told them this passionate story and how it ended. And then I want to let them know that my skills are transferable, right? My skills are transferable. I can do the same thing that I did for company X, company Y, I can do for you and more. And that's because I've learned, right? I had this thing to happen. It was going south pretty fast. Deadline changed. I lost a team member. I got sick. You know, whatever that thing is, you share that. But you know what? Here is how I overcame it. And as a result of that, this is what happened, right? And I can do that same thing with you. And I'm more equipped now for this position because I went through that situation. I have that experience and I've learned. So that's what the STAR method can do for you. So make sure when you tell that story that is passionate, that you give off all of the right clues that they need to listen. And make sure if you're in person, look at the room, right? Say the person's name. You know, you may say, and Robin, the purpose of me in this position, I had to da da da. You know, you may say, and so, you know, commission, the actions that I had to take were, you know, bring them in. You want to reel them in. You want to use their name. You want to make sure that they're listening. I've been in the room with interviews when the person that was being interviewed didn't say anything to the panel. The panel members were looking down. They were looking away. They weren't attentive in being drawn in. Now, whether that's intentional to see if they could throw you off or they weren't interested in your story, I don't know, right? But you want to be able to quickly get them back on track. And so Miss Tina, the results from that were, and then Miss Tina's going to look up like, oh yeah. So you want to make sure that you keep their attention because when you leave the room and the interview is over, they're going to compare notes. And if someone wasn't listening or paying attention or wasn't interested in your story and you don't reel them in while you had a chance to reel them in, they're not going to have much to say. Or the points that they give you may be low. Oh yeah, I didn't really like her. You've got to take ownership of that. So next, let's talk about how to prepare. So know who you are. Can't stress that enough. Be confident. Know how to sell yourself. Remember, your resume is what got you in the room for the interview, right? So they're expecting you to expound on that and show them that person that they love on their resume, right? So have confidence in why you are the best person for the job. Because think about it, they picked you from your resume, so they liked something about you. So now you've got to show them why you're the best person, not just on paper, but in person as well. Be professional, be poised, be very polite, and show them who you are. Understand what you're being asked. When they ask the question, you can say, so what I'm understanding you to ask is, and repeat the question. Or you can start off answering the question with, okay, so a time when I had to lead was when. So that gave you enough time to repeat the question in your head, hear the question out loud again, and give them an opportunity to say, well, no, we were asking you blah, right? You can also write the question down. Take a notebook in with you. You want to be concise, right? And think about, is this a leadership question? Are they asking me this question to understand how I handle conflict? Know why they're asking the question. Is it focused on my organizational skills? What is it that they want to know? The question is not always the question. Sometimes the question is trying to get you to dig deeper into something else. And you will know if you didn't answer correctly because they will ask you preceding questions after you finish. And sometimes if you feel like, oh, my answer wasn't that great, or I've been in an interview before back in the day where I finished talking and said, did I answer the question? Have you ever felt like that? You've been in an interview and be like, did I even answer that? You can say, and did that answer your question? Is there anything else you would like to know before we move on? Show them your confidence and that you're ready to get that feedback so you can clear it up. You don't want to walk out the room and say, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that. You have an opportunity right then to fix it. Just say, and did I answer your question? Is there anything else you would like to know around that topic? And then that puts the onus back on them to tell you if they understood what you said or not, or if you answered their question. So try to remember that. A couple other points. Ensure that your answers tell the story. Craft your responses in such a way that the listening audience understands the situation, the tactics, the actions, the results, and how you can align that to the job that you're interviewing for. Now, this takes practice. This takes time. You should not go in an interview blind. You got to think about what you're going to say. Write it down, type it out, record yourself answering it, think about it. Now, you're not going to get all of them right? You're not going to know how every question that they're going to ask. There's a million questions they can ask, but there are categories. There are categories of questions: conflict resolution, team building, leadership, flexibility. There are different components and categories of questions that they can ask. You just need to know, is this leadership? Is this organization? Is it strategic planning? What are they asking? Think about that and craft some scenarios over your career. Every time I have a situation that happen or I work on a project, once I finish it, I document it. Now, in your everyday living, and all you have to do, I know it's a lot. The day goes by so fast. That's why you've got to be intentional and think about where you're headed. I've met so many people that have been in their career in their same position 10, 12, 15 years. Haven't updated a resume, wouldn't be able to do an interview tomorrow if you asked them to. You go to work and we're kind of robotic, right? You're used to the consistent thing. You take the same route to work. You order the same thing at Starbucks. You go to work, you do the same work, you get home, you go take a shower, go to bed, wake up, do it over again. And years have passed and we don't think about it, right? So this is an opportunity for you to take pause, reset, and say, let me document where I've been, where I'm going, and what are the gaps between where I've been and where I need to be. And most significantly, practice answering your questions. Practice, practice, practice. Do several mock interviews with other people. You can do them with yourself. Hit the record button. Stand in the mirror. Practice that long before you apply for the job, right? Long before you apply for the job, because you want to be ready. You want to be ready. Never apply for a job today that you're not ready to interview for tomorrow. It's a nightmare. It's stressful. And your everyday life is not going to stop because you interview tomorrow, right? You're still going to have to do your daily task on top of preparing for the interview. And that adds to the stress. So I want to help you eliminate the stress and feel prepared and feel confident when you walk in the room or when you hop on Zoom to do an interview. So now let's practice. I'm going to take a couple minutes and I'm going to practice with you. Learn how to turn your weaknesses into strengths. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm very passionate about my personal brand and my work. So sometimes I focus too much on the details. I know I do, right? I'm a check, double check, triple check, call somebody else and ask them to check. I just don't like to mess up, right? I'm kind of a hit it, quit it kind of person. I want to do it one time and get it done. I am not very flexible with rework. That's a weakness because you get too ingrained in the details sometimes. Oh, but let's turn that weakness into a strength, right? So in an interview question, when someone say, so tell me, what's your weakness? I would say, I have found that 90% of the time with me understanding little details, I find more errors and missing pieces. I have been working on checking in with myself regularly to give myself a chance to refocus on the bigger picture. So by sharing that you focus too much on the details, you're showing the interviewer that you're capable of helping the organization to avoid mistakes and errors. Everybody don't look at the details. Some people are just quick and want to get it done. They need someone that can pull back and say, wait, let me check that before you send that in. Make sure they don't misspell words, make sure the numbers line up. That's a good thing, right? So that weakness can become strength. Another example, I honestly have a hard time saying no. And that's true for me. Been working on that all my life, but you know, I'm getting there. Have a hard time saying no. That's me. Is there anyone else on this Zoom who has a hard time saying no? I'm probably the only one. Okay, so helping us on projects and properly managing my workload is an artful balance. Yes, I have a hard time saying no. Yes, it is a weakness for me. However, I am working on properly managing my workload so that I can balance that out. Because you know, you have to show in the interview that you're someone that is working on bettering yourself, that you are self-aware and that you can self-manage by organizing your tasks and setting healthy, realistic expectations with yourself and those around you. I'm aware that I have a hard time saying no, but I am working on setting healthy boundaries with myself and other people. That is one self-awareness that has really helped me, and I'm working on that. The employer, guys, need to know that you are eager to take on a project, to take on some additional work, to take on something new. But they also need to know that you know when it's too much. Yeah, I have a hard time saying no sometimes, but I have a balance. I know how to balance that. I'm working on balancing that. So now your weakness doesn't sound so bad because you're self-aware. You have a plan to improve on your weakness, right? And now that's a great way to answer that question. Guys, good? Okay, let's practice something else. Next, sometimes work can be overwhelming. Share with me a time you felt overwhelmed or that an assignment was impossible. What were your end results? That's a good question to practice. So let's get that up on the next slide. I'll repeat that. Sometimes work can get overwhelming. So share with me a time you felt overwhelmed or an assignment was impossible. What were the end results? Now, the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what is it that they want to hear from me? Do they want to hear that I get overwhelmed and I run? I get overwhelmed and I take leave. What's that, FMLA? I get overwhelmed and it pushes me harder. How do you respond to that? And share what the end results are. Now, that's a question that you don't want to get in the room and you hadn't thought about it. That's why it's important to practice. I'll share a couple more. The next one is, tell me a little bit about yourself. This one is so funny to me. When I ask people to tell me a little bit about themselves, they literally tell me a little bit more about themselves. I have grandkids. I went to this school. I love baseball. The Steelers my favorite team. I love to cook. I vacation and travel. I travel the world. What does any of that have to do with the position? This question is time for you to shine, to sell yourself. You want to tell them more about the position that aligns to the work. What is it about you that makes you the best person for the job? You may or may not get that question. They may not say, well, what makes you the best person for the job? That's kind of an old question. May ask, may not. But here is a chance for you to tell them why you're the best person for the job. So when they say, tell me a little bit more about yourself, you want to say, oh, I'm certified in this. I'm an expert in that. You know, I love a challenge. I give back. Philanthropy is very important to me. I challenge myself daily to have lunch with a teammate or to make a personal phone call. Whatever that thing is about the job, that's what you want to tell them about you. That's your time to tell them about you and how you are the fit for the position. So don't let that question pass you by without being able to tell them more about you and why you should have this job. Another one, tell me about the time you had to lead. Remember, your resume is full of leadership. We talked about that earlier. Leading where you are. How do you convey that in your resume? And how do you convey that in an interview? You want to talk about leadership. I'm pretty sure most of us on this call are in positions right now where we want to be in management, or we're in management, want to be a director or VP. So you need to have some stories that's already in your brain that you can spit out about how you led something, how you was innovative. Technology is advancing like faster than I can think, right? So you want to be able to let them know, I'm innovative, I'm creative, I can design, I can lead, give it to me, I can make something happen. I can turn nothing into something and put a bow on it. Share with them your leadership experience. It's gonna make a difference. No one wants to have to micromanage, and they definitely don't want to hire someone that micromanage when the whole team is like that already. So share with them a time you had to lead. I'll leave you guys with two more. The correct course of action on the next slide is not always apparent. Describe a difficult time when you had to choose between the alternatives. So the best thing to do is not always there. It's not like, yep, spot on, this is it. Sometimes it's like, I could either do this or I can do that. Which one is going to be the best? How do you make that determination? This question is asking about decision making. And if you had a story where you were pressed to make a decision and had to think quick on your feet, and you were working under pressure, that's the time to tell that story. That's the time to tell that story with that interview question. The last one is, describe the most challenging thing you faced at work. Whatever that thing is, this is a character play. Do you run? When you are challenged, how do you overcome adversity? As a leader, you're going to be challenged, not only in the position, but you're going to be challenged with your team, with your subordinates. When you're in management and when you're leading, you got to lead from the top up and from the bottom down, right? You got to work it all the way on both ends. When you're a leader or when you're a manager, you got to deal with your boss's boss. You got to deal with your employees, your coordinate employees that are on your team. You have to deal with other people's employees. You got to do cross training. You got to have cross-functional relationships. You got to collaborate. All of that matters, and all of that can be very challenging. So that's a time to share that. Okay. Now, let's go down and I'll give you guys my information. So thank you all for your time. Thank you guys for joining us today. You have my personal information. If you want to hear more, if you want to get details, if you want to get your resume looked at, please feel free to connect with me. My phone number is here. My email address is here. My website is here. Give me a call. Thank you so much. If you are a member of the Memphis chapter for National Black MBA and you are wanting to get some assistance with interview prep or resume writing, I am offering that free consulting to you as a benefit for being a member of our chapter. And the code is NBMBAA. Please send me an email at Alicia@acareergirl.com. It's right underneath my picture on the left-hand side of the screen. Email me with that code and your name, and we can schedule something. I will verify that. So just send me your email. That way I have a trail and I'll know your name and what you're wanting, and I'll be able to contact you and we can book some time. The complimentary consultants are 30 minutes. You can send me your resume. That'll help if you want it done. You can send it to me and say, this is what I have. How can I advance this? Or, hey, I like one of those formats that you use. Can you, put my resume in a different format? I can do that. If you want to have some interview time, we can go over some interview questions. So feel free to contact me. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you being here. And I will turn it back over to Mr. Darrell, our phenomenal president.
Thank you, Alicia. Can you guys hear me now? Yes, no? Can't hear me.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. I was gonna say, all right.
Some
Thank you,
can,
Alicia.
some cannot.
Well, I appreciate everyone for joining tonight. Thank you, Alicia, again, for all of this great information. I know what I got from it is very intentional, and it doesn't matter if you are applying for a director, VP, manager role. You really painted the point that we need to show up as leaders. That's what all hiring managers are looking for, as leaders. So I appreciate all of your work and effort, and hopefully this will benefit some of us on the call, and we can share it amongst our friends. So I know the hour is late, and so it's past 7. So thank you all for joining. Please feel free to reach out to Alicia or anyone else on our organization, as well as contact us through our social media outlets. With that, have a good night, stay safe, and hopefully you all enjoy the Labor Day holiday coming up, and look forward to seeing some of you all in Chicago. Thank you. Have a good night.